Hello and welcome to the Balatro multiplayer podcast, where we discuss strategy and things going on in the Balatro multiplayer mod. I am your host, Sizak, and I've got with me here my co-host, Phantom.
Hello, hello.
A little bit more about me. I, Sizak, am a very competitive Balatro player. I played the original game quite a lot soon after it came out. Got completionist plus plus, enjoyed every second of it. And once I found out about the multiplayer mod, it's what got me back into Balatro because I was like, okay, I'm done with Balatro. And then I saw the multiplayer mod. And, okay, maybe not. But yeah, multiplayer mod is it's great. I'm fairly high ranking on it. I hover around the top 10 usually. Participated in some tournaments, haven't won any. Got second place in the last one, threw hard in the last match, but But I've been also getting into streaming, trying to be more consistent about streaming my Balatro multiplayer gameplay. And that's about it for me. Phantom, want to introduce yourself a bit more?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little about myself. I've been playing Balatro since pre-release, I think. Like even before it was released on Steam. I played like the free pre-release and I loved it. So then when it came out, I was like, I'm super willing to pay for this game because I had so much fun. Like I feel like I'd already got my money's worth even though I hadn't bought it yet. Since then, I didn't necessarily love Gold Stake as much, so I didn't get C++ like Sizak. But I really loved White Stake and high score runs, so when one of my favorite creators, Zeno, he had a high score competition. I put a lot of time into that. I ended up winning that. I think the most impressive thing I did there was I got Naninf, Legendary lists, and Plasma lists. I did on Black Deck, I think. That was pretty impressive. And then when the multiplayer mod apparently it came out a long time ago, but it started getting big a couple months ago. I think Bean made a video about it, and I saw that one. I was like, that sounds so hype. I'm gonna go join this community that has the mod. So I joined, and that was also the very first week that they started having an MMR ranking, and I was like one of the first ones to play it. I played it like nonstop for a week, and I became the number one player for a time. Back when we used the vanilla rule set. Since then, I fluctuate around top 10. I am the creator of the popular mod for multiplayer called Phantom's Preview. It helps you see a preview of the score with a slight delay for balance. I am the winningest tournament player in Balatro multiplayer. I'm the only player to ever win 3 of the weekly tournaments. Hopefully I get more soon or someone else will catch up. But I'm pretty proud of that. And I don't know, I think that's enough about myself, so we can get into the podcast.
Yeah. So real quick, in case anyone's here that hasn't played the multiplayer mod or doesn't know much about it, basically the concept is just that well, if you haven't played regular Balatro, first of all, I don't know how you're here, but if you haven't,
Go
it's a
play
great
it.
game. Yeah, definitely. Best, honestly, probably my favorite roguelike of all time. And I have played Slay the Spire. But
Same.
anyways, uh, yeah, multiplayer mod, basically, you've got 2 players that go head to head where instead of the boss blinds after the first one, instead of the boss blinds, you compare score. So whoever has the highest score after playing all their hands in the PvP blind, which replaces the boss blind, the other player loses a life, and each have 4 lives. First person to 0 loses, and that's pretty much it. Anything else you want to add about basic description of the multiplayer mod?
Yeah, something else to notice is that, like Sizak said, each player has 4 lives to start with, and if you die on like a non-PvP blind, you also just lose life. You don't just lose the game like a normal Balatro. So it really just
Mm.
comes down to who can survive longer and who can score more than the other player in the PvP blinds. And once one player runs out of lives, then that's it.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, for this podcast, we will be discussing like general strategies and stuff. We'll see how this first episode goes. Let us all know what you think, and if things go well and we enjoy it and you all enjoy it, we'll keep going. And we've got a lot of ideas about things to talk about. We've got lots of places we can go with this. For this episode, we will be specifically discussing the jokers that are unique to multiplayer. So there's 10 jokers that are specifically for the multiplayer mod, and they all interact with the other player in some way. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, we're gonna go through those and talk about strategies involving them. We're going to go through and rank them as well, from what we consider the least powerful to the most powerful. Obviously, they're all very situational, but generally some are better than others. But yeah, we're going to go through, rank them all, talk about strategies, when they're useful, when they're not, why we think what we think about them, and where we rank them, and stuff like that. So yeah, before we get into that, we do have one card that is unique to the Balatro multiplayer mod that is not a Joker that we should talk about since it relates a bit. The Asteroid card. So the Asteroid card. Wait, let me pull that up because I don't remember. I don't have it
Yeah,
open.
and while I was pulling it up, just for clarity, especially if you haven't played the mod before, these additional 10 jokers as well as the asteroid card, um, they are something you're able to turn on and off. They're not on by default. But these are what's played in the standard rule set, which is usually what is played for the ranked. So if you want to play like ranked Balatro, then these jokers will be in the game, and so that's why we're discussing them in this podcast. Like if you want to play vanilla, you can play with your friends. You can play with like crazy mods, like you can play cryptid with your friends using the multiplayer mod. But these specific jokers are for the standard rule set, which is used for the ranked gameplay.
Yeah, I gotta try multiplayer cryptid sometime. That sounds wild. I have not done that, but
I've seen it, it's crazy.
yeah, I bet. Um,
I'm not sure it's competitive, but it's crazy.
yeah, yeah. It'd be trying to make that competitive would be something weird. But yeah,
For one to crash
yeah,
wins.
that's a way to do it. Honestly, that makes the crash code card actually have a meaning. Um, but
Yeah.
anyways, another thing to add along with that we should point out is that everything we're discussing in terms of like power level and how good we think it is generally going to be based on white stake because that is the standard ranked rule set plays on white stake. We might, particularly Phantom, might mention some of the jokers that are a bit stronger on other stakes or weaker or whatever, since he's got a little bit more experience with that. But
Mhm.
generally,
Yeah, I one of my was on gold stake, so I have at least more experience than Sizak in this field.
yeah, yeah. Whereas I have
In the
played
gold stake.
grand total of 1 game on Black Stake, and that was against someone who joined ranked queue and, didn't realize that it was supposed to be just white stake, and I was like, "Ah, sure, we'll go with it." Um, but yeah, anyways, Asteroid. Asteroid is a planet card that, instead of increasing the level of one of your hands, it removes 1 level from your nemesis's highest level poker hand. Uh, Now I don't totally know how this works when you've got multiple hands that are at the highest level. It seems kind of random, and also I could be wrong, but it feels like maybe it's bugged or something, but it feels like sometimes it doesn't hit the actual highest leveled hand, or maybe I'm just misnoticing it.
I've never seen it not hit the highest leveled hand. If any of them have higher than all of the others, then it hits that hand every time. I personally have never seen it not do that.
Okay.
If you have, then report the bug, I guess. I do have a list of what it hits if all of them are tied. So, for example, if they're all level 1, it'll hit flush house first, then full house, then flush, and it goes down. There's a list on the Balatro MP website, which I'm sure will be in the description. I'll have a link to the Balatro MP website and probably the Discord server to be able to join that and download the mod itself.
Yes, yes, I was gonna mention that earlier. We're definitely gonna include those in there. But yeah, check out in the description if you wanna get involved in those. Discord is great, very welcoming, lots of friendly people. You can join
Also
through
helps you.
the
There's guides on how to install the mod if you haven't done Balatro modding before.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty easy. It's the mod manager, you kinda just install it and then like use the UI to just choose what mods you want. It kinda does a lot for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's also guides. There's some mods that aren't on there, but honestly, most of the relevant mods, especially now, are more and more just on the mod manager. Uh,
Yeah, I even got mine on there.
yeah, it's super useful because I don't like having to do it manually. So once yours one of those, like sweet. Um,
You're welcome. You're
yeah,
welcome.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, the asteroid. I guess let's just talk about how good we think asteroid is. I feel like it's pretty good. Obviously, I'd rather level up my highest hand. But honestly,
Mhm.
I don't know, I remember seeing in the server some people talking about how like, "Oh, I don't get why high rank players are always like throwing asteroid, like it's a waste of $3." But I feel like at least a third of the time when I get hit by an asteroid, it it matters. Probably at least probably like half of the time, honestly. I get hit by an asteroid and I'm like, "Oh, well that's unfortunate."
Mhm. I think, in my opinion, Asteroid is always the second best planet card to hit. And it helps in that way because, like, let's say you're playing a flush 5 build or a flush house build, then, if you don't find the Eris card in the pack or you don't find that Eris card in the shop, then at the very least you can find an Asteroid.
Yeah.
It's a second option that's also it's good. Like, of course, like you said, you'd rather have whatever your best hand is, whatever it is you're going for. You'd rather level that up than de-level something that maybe or maybe not impactful for your opponent. But it's good to have that second option. And like you said, it's almost always worth the $3, except for maybe at the very, very end of the game. It's almost always worth the $3 just to send it at someone. Or if you open a pack or you get it from a High Priestess, it's worth just sending it to your opponent.
Yeah.
Because it can be impactful, and I've seen it, like, maybe it wins a PvP or two.
Yeah, I'd also say I probably wouldn't take it early. I mean, I maybe would
Mm.
because when it hits Flush House is one of the easiest like big
Yeah,
hands to hit in that first PvP blind.
it does hit Flush House first, which I kind of find annoying, but
I do too.
it is
I
what it
do
is.
too. Actually, I've honestly considered making a feature request and make it random or something instead. But like it being consistent also kind of makes sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it should be consistent, but it should be. Do you know how Telescope works?
No, I don't. I mean, I know what it does, but
Telescope gives you like your most played hand, and if they're tied, it picks it in like the top of the order. Like when you open up your run info, it's like straight flushes at top by default, and then it goes down.
mm, okay,
I think it should do that, where if they're tied, it should take it like from the top
yeah,
and then go down of the unlocked hands. So if I haven't played a flush house, why is it de-leveling flush house?
yeah, I agree. That seems like a better way to do it. And also, it's nice because it hits straight flush
Seems
first,
unintended.
which like who's playing straight
Yeah, it would
flush
hit straight
anyways?
flush first, was like, yeah. And then after that, four of a kind, and it will go down. But then, like, if you unlock the flush house and then they, like, save it for PP and use it right then there you go.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I think that would make more sense than because the current system, I think, is just based on however it's like laid out in the table in Balatro code, which is just
it's
probably just an arbitrary decision by local folk.
yeah. It's probably just might have not even been considered. Might have just naturally occurred that way.
Yeah, just however you put them in there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I might actually make that a. I really like that idea of doing it. So I might actually, if you don't do it, I might actually make that a feature request. But yeah, as far as strategies involving it, I think that uh, one thing that's interesting about Asteroid, just having it in the game, one thing that you'll sometimes kind of want to do is have sort of a buffer hand. Like if you, especially if you pivot, like if I'm starting off going,
Mhm,
like thinking I'm going to go into more of a high card build, and I'm getting a bunch of high card planets, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, okay, you know, Bloodstone shows up in the shop, and suddenly I'm building either flush or flush house or flush five. I still will probably, if I don't have the hand that I want, I will still like as a second or third option, maybe after Asteroid, maybe not, level up high card in order to keep it above my main hand level, so that if Asteroid hits me, I don't lose anything because I still have this other hand that I don't really care about anymore, but I'm still leveling it as like a shield to the real hand.
mhm. Yeah, and I think that can definitely be a strategy, but only really early game. Like,
Mm,
I think 3, maybe 4 levels in a throwaway hand. Like, once you get, like, let's say blue seals and you're getting like and I have level 17 high card or something, like,
yeah,
it's not worth spending, 3 times $17, like $51
yeah, for sure.
on random planets.
And at that point, you don't really care that much of an
You're
Asteroid.
just like, I'll outpace it because I'm getting 2 or 3 blue seals, like 2 or 3 planet cards around.
Exactly.
Your asteroids do nothing to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
On a related note, something that I like to do is because I'm a big believer in playing a flush house in the first PvP. It's the easiest one you can do, even just with one Suchi Ninja card, you can enable a flush house.
Mhm.
Sometimes in the first 1 or 2 antes, if I have good enough econ, I'll grab just any random planet card that shows up in the shop, or even just open a pack early and just level something else up. So
Yeah.
when they use the first asteroid, it won't hit my flush house, and I can keep it at level 1. Because level 0 is just annoying.
It is. It feels so bad. The worst thing is, like, I think the second or third it hits is flush, and then flush becomes, like, 15 chips
Mhm.
and 2 molt, which just feels absolutely
Yeah, yeah.
awful.
The third one is flush. It's flush house, full house, flush.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the full house is annoying too. Yeah, those are all, like, hands that I like to play
Mhm.
some
Yeah,
fairly
full
often.
house still goes to like X2, so it's like it's
Yeah.
as good as the 2 pair.
Uh, that's just yeah, that feels gross.
It's just sad, yeah. I think one other strategy that I thought about with Asteroid is I think if it shows up in the shop, like maybe not in a pack, or if you get it from a High Priestess, and you're like, let's say you're in like the last shop or like the one before, I think it's totally reasonable to take that and hold it into the PvP. So then, like, if they were able to level up something, then you can hit whatever it is they're actually trying to play.
Mm.
And so sometimes I take it and wait until we start the PvP, and then I throw the Asteroid.
I think I remember playing against you and you doing that. I think I was wondering like what the what the reasoning was behind that. It seemed right, but I was like, I don't know why he's doing it, but I guess it like makes sense in some way.
They're not expecting it. Like,
Yeah. It's weird to go into
like
the yeah.
if you're planning to play a flush house, then all of a sudden it's like -1. You're like, bruh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
And there's nothing you can do about it now because there's no more shops. You can't
Yeah.
go find a series card.
Yep.
I don't know. It might be slightly more optimal. I'm not sure it actually makes a difference like most of the time. I just think it's funny.
It is kind of funny. It is very unexpected. It's like, what the heck? Why are my levels going down as I'm like trying to play these hands? Oh, man.
I'm in PvP. What happened? Or if you get it like from Purple Seal, you get a High Priestess, and all of a sudden you're like, Asteroid him in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely done that. I've definitely done that. That feels
That
kind
was
of
funny
yeah.
too.
Oh man. It would be so funny to just like have a bunch of asteroids like duplicate them somehow and just I think I've heard of someone doing that. It's not optimal at all, but it would be funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the player Jesus, the Jesus Asteroid play.
I
Do you know it?
I don't know that. No.
It was in a tournament. I don't even know if he won the game, but we got an early per KO, which copies whatever's in your consumable
Yeah.
slot. He threw an asteroid up there and like blueprint per KO'd asteroids, and just sent them all to level
Oh
0.
my gosh.
Like it's definitely not optimal, but it's
That
hilarious.
is
Like there's a clip somewhere. It's so
I
funny.
gotta find that. That's so good.
Yeah. So like I don't necessarily love asteroid, but like the fact that that clip exists might make it worth it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. That's all I had about asteroid.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Overall, just it's a good planning
yeah,
card.
yeah. That's pretty much it for me too. All right. Well, I guess let's get into the jokers. Um
Yes.
Phantom, do you want to kick it off with our first multiplayer Joker, the one we have ranked the lowest?
Yeah. So both of us, we put together a ranking of, hey, here's what we think is the most powerful one. Here's what we think is the least powerful one, and we sorted it in kind of reverse order. We didn't necessarily have the same exact order, but we had like similar enough that we could choose an ordering. And this is the one that we both thought was the worst or pretty close to it. It's skip off. I'm gonna read what it does. It gives +1 hands and +1 discards per additional blind skipped compared to your nemesis. So the way it works is the game keeps track of how many skips both you and your opponent have done during the entirety of the match. And let's say I've skipped once, my opponent skipped 0 times. Then skip off will give me +1 hand and +1 discard in every round. If I've skipped twice more, it'll be +2 hands, +2 discards. If we're even or if my opponent skipped more, skip off does absolutely nothing. So maybe I can just talk a little bit about I put this as the worst of the 10 multiplayer jokers. And I think it's because in general, you don't want to skip. Like in single player, I think even more than in multiplayer. Skipping just means you see less shops, you have less chance to get value from your econ jokers, less chance to have deck manipulation from your purple seals. You just whatever gain you can get from whatever that skip tag is usually not worth missing out on all that value.
Yeah.
And like the only exceptions are things that probably both players will be taking. Let's say like a rare tag or an SM tag, and then if both of you take it, skip off does nothing because now you're even on skips. So that's why I put it at last.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of these things. And I will say that the which we'll get to next, my actual the one that I actually ranked last, it maybe should be lower the other one. Because the other one I've at least taken a couple times. Skip off, I've either taken 0 or 1 times. I'm only ranking it above it for purely speculative reasons because I see skip off and I go, okay, there's got to be some situation, like I haven't seen it yet, but there's got to be some situation where this plays great because a lot of times you'll take the same skips most of the time, especially at the high level you will, but every once in a while, like you're in a position where I don't know, maybe you're behind and you take the rare skip and your opponent doesn't because they're more satisfied with where they're at in the game, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a few different reasons. If you somehow end up like ahead 2 skips and you need to leave, like and your deck is like kind of big. It's a super niche specific scenario, but your deck's like bigger than it should be, and you've taken 2 skips more than your opponent. Having 2 extra hands and 2 extra discord cards could just like in theory, again, it'd be hard because so many things in how you play steer you away from this being what happens. But if you somehow ended up with a large deck and multiple skips, usually two things you don't want to have, this can be something that I could see just totally fixing the large deck problem because two more hands and two more discards is huge. That is a lot more of your deck that you can see, and you can use it to like for econ jokers and stuff as well.
Yeah, and another reason that I don't really love it is because it solves a problem that you probably shouldn't have anyway.
Yeah,
Especially when you're playing on white stake. Like on gold stake, I could see it being better because like there's more opportunities for the skips because like the small blinds don't give money. You know, many different reasons why you would take a skip in gold stake instead of white stake. Um, and then that plus, you know, you're already -1 a discard from the blue stake, giving you a -1 discard. So getting that extra discard back, even just from one extra skip, it can make a big difference in actually being able to find your hand, being able to survive those small big blinds, and then beat your opponent in PvPs. So it's definitely better in gold stake, but in white stake, like getting that extra hand and the extra discard, like it's nice, but if you're doing proper deck fixing and you're making your deck thin enough, you should be able to see your whole deck with a regular amount of hands and discards. Like you shouldn't need it, I guess.
yeah. No, I agree. I think there are niche situations where I would take a drunkard, and if you happen to somehow be ahead one skip, it's just a
Mhm.
better drunkard.
Yeah,
So
I just
I don't know, but I
the way
agree.
I play,
It's
I don't
bad.
necessarily find myself plus a skip almost ever. And if I did, then I'm probably winning
Yeah,
anyway because I took an investment tag you did or skip, and I got something you
that's
did.
That's fair. There have been scenarios. I feel like every once in a while with the rare tag specifically, like I don't know, like we've had this happen where we've got a game together and there's a rare skip and we agree like okay we're taking it or we're not taking it because
Hmm.
I feel like especially at a high level a lot of a lot of us playing it there don't want the game to be decided by some random dumb luck like what's in a
Yeah.
rare skip.
Hmm. So it's like if you're taking it, I'm taking it. Yeah.
Yeah. But as it gets later in the game, it becomes a little bit more of a personal decision
Hmm.
where it doesn't make sense to have that communication because
Yeah.
some places where you're at in the game, it makes more sense to take it or not. So
Hmm.
there is very rare scenarios where it would happen, but
Yeah. So I could see it number 9, but I think we both agree it's one of the worst.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I had about that one. So go ahead and talk about next if you want.
Yeah, our next Joker that we have on the list is Pacifist, and this is the one that we disagree on ranking the most. I have it ranked it in dead last at number 10, while Phantom has it ranked at number 6. It gives times 10 bolt while not in a PvP blind. So times 10 molt is huge. It is, far and away the uh, largest amount of just like times molt that something can just give without an insane amount of stuff put into it.
Hmm.
Um, but since it's not in a PvP blind, I feel like it's almost always useless because like your PvP blinds are, where the game is won and lost, right? And there are reasons like you do have to get through the other blinds, right? But generally, you can just replace pacifist with something that will also be giving you score in the PvP blind. Even if it's like a really weak Joker, it's at least gonna do something. And especially on white stake, you're very rarely gonna be in a situation where you're really struggling, even with being greedy with econ jokers and stuff. You're usually have got something that you're holding on to for a score that would be fine. Like, yes, I've definitely lost lives to blinds for sure, but that's just from me being too greedy in the moment, not necessarily almost ever with my jokers. Maybe in some very rare scenarios. But the other thing about pacifist is like I feel like most of the time it blocks you from being able to get your econ because almost always you want to be using your hands and your discards for getting some sort of value with an econ joker. Maybe not almost always, but very often you're trying to get some sort of value with some sort of econ joker. A lot of the best ones are rely on your hand or discards. And with pacifist, your first hand has a very high chance of winning. I will say the one scenario I find it useful is when my score without pacifist is like extremely low, so I can like play high card hands to like search through my deck and not win, and then it's easier to win. It allows me to be greedy because it's easier to win with my when I play just like a full house or something like kind of weak, but still win because of pacifist. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear Phantom because I would maybe rate it. I'm like now that I'm thinking of it, I maybe put it like 9 or 8, but there's no way I would put it at 6. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I think maybe part of it could be that like my brain is just remembering like, the good memories of like how good it is in gold stake because this Joker like in white stake, you don't necessarily need too much scoring to actually beat the blinds, but in gold stake like dying to the blinds is a common occurrence. And so times 10 on those blinds can win you the entire game. So like part of my brain could just be remembering those and that's why I put it higher. But I think the reason I put pacifist number 6 instead of like all the way down there is because there have been times where I took pacifist and it actually made a difference where like, you would take like another random joker, but instead of taking that or 2 jokers, I can just take pacifist and that can be my only scoring up until that first PvP and then I can grab, something else right before. Like it alone can solo the first 2 antis. And that is less hands played, which is more money in your pockets. And so because there was times where I actually took pacifist and I felt like it made a difference, even in white stake, I put it above these other jokers, which like skip off, and then I think the next 2 we're going to talk about, I don't really ever take. And so I guess it's because like the usage case I found to be more, I just put them above. I put pacifist above those because I actually found times where it was useful to me. With the other ones, I never use. That was the main reasoning.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I like I said, I probably rate it too low, but I think I still rate it lower than you would. But it
Like
makes
I
sense.
think the 4 at the bottom, they're all bad, and I pretty much never take them. But I've at least taken pacifist
Yeah.
a couple times.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I see the two higher ones that you would rank it above. We'll get to them, but I feel like those have niche scenarios where they actually can make a big impact. Unlike pacifist, like I said, I would maybe rank it up above skip off and our next one. But I still wouldn't rank it any higher than that, just because
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
could see
But
it one lower
I
than
see
I
your
put
point.
it, but I don't know. I just don't like that one Joker. But we'll get there. We'll get there. All right. Anything more
Yeah,
about
we'll get there.
pacifist, or should I go to the next one?
I think that's it. You can go to the next one.
Okay. I'm gonna read the version from the Balatro website because it's actually accurate to what the Joker does. This Joker is called Taxes, and it says this Joker gains +5 molt each time your nemesis sells a Joker.
Okay, I was wondering because it didn't seem like it was. I was like, seriously, I play it and I'm like, why is this not getting bigger? That that
You
maybe would give me
understand
a reason to
now?
rate it even lower. Yeah,
I think pacifist is better than that.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, no,
Yeah. Do
honestly,
you want to read what
I
it says in
probably
game?
yeah. In game, it says when your nemesis sells a card, gain +5 molt, which is very different.
Completely. Like it. I feel like the wording in game makes it feel like it's like campfire works, where campfire is like if I sell a planet card, if I sell a tarot card, if I sell a joker, sell anything, campfire goes off. It feels like taxes should be the same, but when your opponent sells anything. But the way it's actually written in the code, it only works when your opponent sells a joker. I don't know why, but that's just how it works.
If they're gonna keep taxes, I hope they change that because that
Yeah.
that's yeah. I mean, at least change the description, but ideally, I
Hmm.
feel like it'd be better to just change
Yeah.
the functionality to match the description.
Yeah. So that's the reason I put it as number 9. Is just like it because I feel like once your opponent is to the point where they have enough econ where they're like selling jokers, you don't need plus mold anymore. I can't think of a use
Yeah, that's
case
fair enough.
where like in the white stake ranked rule set where it's worth even taking.
Yeah, I ranked it like above pacifist and skip off just because like in my mind it's like well it's that scales really fast in
Mhm.
theory, but especially now realizing that it only hits jokers, and that's a good point that like by the time the times when it's useful is not the times when they're selling jokers,
Yeah.
which is another thing that I didn't consider too much. Plus, it gives a phantom joker thing, which it shows the opponent that you have it, so it's like they can try to play
Taxes
around
doesn't
it
do
as
that.
well. Oh, does it not? I thought it did.
Taxes
Okay,
does not send a phantom. No.
never mind. Ignore that then.
We could do that if you want, but I don't think it needs to be worse.
No, it's bad enough already.
Let's
It's
nerf
bad enough
taxes.
already.
It's too strong.
I think I just assumed that because like a recent update gave more things phantoms,
Yeah.
and whenever I took taxes, it was like they're not selling anything, but it's probably just because
It's because they
it
weren't
only
selling
affects
jokers.
jokers, and they thought it was
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They
That
weren't
makes
playing
a lot more
around you. They were
sense.
just playing the game normally.
Yeah. But anyways, I think that's about all there is to say about taxes, really.
Yeah, the advanced strategy is don't take it.
Yeah. Also, honestly, as we're talking about it, I almost would rate it like even lower than skip off because I see more potential for skip off. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe. I don't know. Like, there's a world where it gives plus 10 molt, and that's like almost a banana, even early. So,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
like I said, these bottom four, like I almost never pick them up, so they could be interchangeable.
Yeah. Well, speaking of these bottom four, we have one more that is in Phantom's bottom four next, speedrun. I actually have it ranked at number 6, so we differ a little bit on this one.
Hmm.
But speedrun, what it says is if you reach a PvP blind before your nemesis, create a random spectral card. That must have room.
Hmm.
I feel like speedrun. I will say I think that I will say both of us are very slow players, so other players maybe would rate it higher.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm assuming the same for Phantom, at least for me, I am very rarely the first one to a PvP blind.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
but
I've gotten a Spectral from speedrun twice ever.
yeah, this is probably similar to me. Maybe a little bit more. It might only be twice, honestly. But yeah, it that being said, spectral cards are just so important. Like it is hard to get it to work and it's the rate is very low. You get 1 per ante and you have to play fast enough to get it. But just because of how important spectral cards can be, like that that alone I feel like gives me enough to put it in number 6 because I mean, you get obviously, there's the big ones. There's Deja Vu, Ankh,
Hmm.
that'll just like or
Cryptid
Cryptid
as
a lot of
well.
times that'll
Yeah.
just completely change the course of the game. But even like
Immolate's crazy.
about
Yeah.
half of them, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of other really good ones. Immolates, any of the seal ones, like
Yeah, those are
Blue Seals
useful.
may be a little bit more situational, but yeah, any of the seal ones are good.
Familiar can be a
Um,
good high roll if you get a glass card from it.
yeah, 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 exactly. All of them, but, like, there's, like, a couple, like, the one that makes 4 random face cards. I know
Incantation's
face cards.
horrible.
Incantation. Yeah, that one's that one sucks. Whenever I get that, I'm like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" Well,
Hex.
I get that. Well, yeah. Hex has, like, extra if you get Hex and Og, then you're golden, but that's,
Yeah.
that's super niche.
Hex by itself, like, I'm not selling my jokers for a 1.5.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah,
Unless it's my
it's
first
not worth
joker, then welcome to Ghost Deck.
yeah, it's I think Hex is better than it is because of Ghost Deck, but it's only good there because you start with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have do you have anything else to say about speedrun from your perspective since you rated it lower than I did?
Yes. From my perspective, something important to note is that we're not sure why it happens, but due to a glitch, it doesn't give you the spectral card on the first PvP. I don't know why.
Last time last time I played it did. I don't know if inconsistent or it's been
I don't know
fixed,
if
but
it's
I
every
I
time.
played it during the tournament.
Yeah, I've heard that that's when it doesn't work sometimes, and I don't know why. So because it's inconsistent
Mm,
there, I don't necessarily trust it on the first PvP. Another thing to
fair.
consider is that spectral cards can be game changing and powerful. I'll admit it, but it's using an entire Joker slot for one spectral card in an ante. You have to hold it for a whole ante to get one spectral card. Like the other spectral card generators, like Seance or Sixth Sense, you can get one around until you're done using it, and you only have to keep it around for one round. Like I can keep Sixth Sense for like 2-3 rounds, get some spectrals, thin my deck a little, and then sell that. For the same amount of time, I get one spectral card from speedrun. I don't feel like it's that worth it, but I can see like maybe putting a little higher, especially if it was like fixed to work every single time. Maybe it already has, but I've heard it's not at this time. But yeah, that and personally, I just don't like playing fast. Like I'd rather get the value from taking my time to get the max value out of all my hands. I feel like that's more value to me than one random spectral, especially with that fifth Joker slot that I'll have over my opponent. Unless they get a super high roll, and then that's variance. Welcome to Balatro.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't personally like it. But I could see you moving it up to 6. Like I don't disagree with where you put it.
Yeah, and another thing I said, like you said, like you only get 1 per ante, but I think what is nice is like you can pick it up in the second or at best third shop, and if you just happen to be ahead, like
Hmm.
then you just pick it up, and especially if you get it in the third shop, that's just a free spectral card,
Yeah.
if you happen to be ahead and you find it in the third shop and you have the slot for it. Like, it's
Yes.
niche, but getting a spectral card that easily is really nice in the
Mhm.
rare situation that
Yeah,
happens.
if in that rare scenario, I can see why you'd pick it up. Most of the time, I'm not ahead, so it doesn't happen to me. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why I rate it lower than most players, even you, who is also a slow player.
Yeah. I am, and I mean, I've made you wait for large amounts of times in our game, so I can be slower than you sometimes. I think
Yeah,
it's, yeah, it just depends, 'cause
yeah.
every once in a while, my opponent's being slow, and for some reason,
Mhm.
I'm just like, the decisions don't feel that, like,
Yeah,
difficult or
and
meaningful, and I'm
there's
just like,
also
"Well,
just, like,
just kill this
certain
guy."
builds have to be played slower, like, if I'm using all my hands
Yeah,
for Dusk and you're
yeah,
using, like, Bear and Mime, like, that takes
yeah.
longer. Or if you have Vagabond and I don't, then you gotta use all your hands and I don't, you know?
Yeah. Vagabond's, like, one of the few things that the timer pressure can still feel very real, even with the increased
Yes,
timer now.
yes.
But yeah, I think that's probably about covers it for speedrun.
Yeah. Alright, the next Joker we're gonna talk about is Pizza. Let me read what it does. It gives +6 discards for all players, -1 discard when any player selects a blind, and it's eaten when your nemesis skips. So the way it works is, like it says, it gives +6 discards, but for each, and it goes down by 1 every time someone selects a blind. So when your opponent enters a blind, -1 discard. When you enter a blind, -1 discard. So let's say you bought it right before PvP. Once you both enter that PvP blind, it would only be at +4 discards by the time you even start the PvP. So that's how it works. If your nemesis ever skips, pizza's gone. Um, this one, I think we both put it number 7. We can see
Mhm.
that there are some uses for it. At least, I'll speak for myself. You can speak for yourself. I can see that there are some niche uses for it, but the fact that it is universal, where I'm using a Joker slot, I'm spending the money on this Joker, but exact same benefit as me, just kind of feels bad. The reason that I put it as at least useful in some way, which I put it above the lower Jokers that I put, because of something that I call pizza tech, which is you see pizza in the shop, you wait for your opponent to enter a blind, like you see, opponent location playing small blind. Then you buy pizza, you go into the small blind, and then you sell pizza. Because the plus discards only are applied once you enter a blind. So if I buy it, enter the blind, and then sell it, I get the +6 discards for that one blind, and I can, let's say, get my purple seal value, my mail-in rebate value, whatever I can use to get discards to get the most value. Find the perfect hand, get all my blue seals, whatever it is I can do. I get all that value and my opponent doesn't. So then it's like a one-time boost of 6 discards for like $2 or $3. And that's the only use I really see of it. I was talking with Vagabond today about this Joker, and he says that another use that he's found is like if he knows that whatever his hand is, whatever his thing is better than his opponent's, but he's not sure if he can find it. Like let's say he knows he has a red seal over them because he used speedrun, and now he's got a red seal. But if he
Mhm.
doesn't find the red seal, then like he's probably not going to win the PvP blind. He'll pick up pizza, take it into the PvP, and be like, "Here, use all of his cards. You can find a perfect hand. If I find my perfect hand, I'll still beat you. I don't really care. So you can have that." And that's another use
Yeah,
case I could see. I've never personally done it myself, but I see it more about pizza tech as it's a like singular boost to your discards. But most of the times I don't have an empty slot just to throw around for pizza, especially when it gives my opponent the same value as well. I don't know. What are your thoughts about it?
yeah, I didn't realize actually that it worked to be because the other discard jokers, the base game ones, if you sell them, you immediately lose the discard. So I didn't realize that pizza just let you keep them if you walked into the blind with
Yeah,
it.
no,
Um,
welcome. Welcome to janky code from making modding.
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, even without that, I mean, I'd say that definitely is like a great. I feel like I may have done that before. I didn't cognitively like realize that there was that difference, but I may
Hmm.
have used it that way before. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah,
But basically, pizza, the biggest thing for pizza is mail-in rebate. There's
yeah.
other, purple seals and stuff,
Purple seals are good. Yeah,
but mail-in rebate is just like it's one of the best
yeah.
econ
I think
jokers,
delayed
and pizza
gratification as
can just.
well is the other one that comes to mind.
Oh, true. Yes, yeah, that. I don't know if I've ever done that. That's it's just
I haven't
$12.
done it, but I've seen it. It was in like round one of a tournament where like delayed gratification and pizza were like in the shop next to each other.
Oh my gosh.
And so then like,
That is
the
wild.
players put it together, they're like, boom,
Yeah.
plus $20.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is wait, they both oh my god. If they both take it, then it's yeah.
I think only
Huh.
one player took it, and they didn't do pizza tech, and I was disappointed because I was like, you could have
Oof.
denied your opponent all the delayed gratification value, but you gave them free money.
Yeah. That's important to know that that's even a thing though, because
Yeah,
like, they might just assume that it works like Drunkard or
yeah,
Merry Andy, and you just sell it and then, "Oh, discards are gone."
yeah.
'Cause
No,
I tried one time doing that with Merry Andy, and I didn't realize that was a thing. I was like, "Oh, I can't just, like, sell it and get rid of the hand size."
yeah, no. I forgot that's how the regular jokers work because I'd only done it with pizza. Because I
Yeah.
usually like I don't sell the extra discard jokers until I'm in the shop and find something better.
Yeah, I tried to do that with Merry Andy because I'm like, "Huh, I bet I can just, like, you know, get a
Get my
couple
hand size
discards
back.
in."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I because it doesn't even set it back to, like, your maximum. It
It
just
removes
takes
the
away
three.
whatever. Yeah, so if you had 5 discards, you use 3 and then sell Mary Andy, suddenly you have 0 discards. It's like, "Oh, okay."
That's funny. Well, today
Yeah, it was
I learned we both learned something today then.
yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, I'd say pizza. I think this is a fitting position for it at a number 7 for both of us. It has niche use cases where it can get you, like, great value, but a lot of times I do wanna say I like it. It's funny. It's a neat, like,
Yeah,
conceptually Joker to have in the game. Um, I
just
also
not as
the
useful.
No, yeah, not as useful. I think I've always kind of wondered why the whole "eaten when your nemesis skips" thing is there. Like, I guess I don't know. It's just such a random, like, clause to have in the Joker.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen it actually come into play. I wasn't there when it was designed, so I don't necessarily know why it was
Yeah.
chosen, but it's funny. If you
It
really
it
wanna
is,
skip
it
to
is.
get rid of my pizza, which is kinda weird because it also gets rid of your pizza, like, go
Knock
for
yourself
it.
out. Go
Have
ahead.
fun skipping. I'm fine losing the $2
Oh,
from sell
man.
value.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for pizza, yeah?
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Alright, so, our next Joker is Conjoined Joker. Conjoined Joker, what it says is, while in PvP blind, gain times 0.5 molt for every hand your nemesis has left. Max times 3 molt, currently times 1 molt. So basically, normal deck, no hand increase vouchers. This will be times 2.5 because it's four add-ons of. Wait, no, is that right?
Well,
It is times 2.5, you
4
said.
add-ons no, 4 add-ons would be +3 because 4 times point 0.5 is 2. So it adds 2.
Okay, because I swear I thought I remember going into, like, normal wash lines just immediately times 2.5, but yeah, I guess I'm wrong on that. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
so
default times 3 unless you're on, like, black deck or something.
okay. Maybe I was mixing I don't know. I'm probably just wrong. But yeah, so you go into the PvP blind and, it starts out at times 3 molt, assuming that you're not on black deck, you don't have, well, it can't go higher than times 3, but
Yeah.
it's times 3 molt with the full 4 hands. I think that's what I was mixed I think maybe I mixed it up because it used to be I don't know. It used to be different. We'll get into that later though.
Mhm.
Times 3 molt, and as your opponent plays hands, it goes down. So with Conjoined Joker, you've got to play super fast. We have it ranked up at number 5 because I mean times molt is strong,
Mhm.
but it forces you to play fast, which in PvP blind especially I feel like is rough. With some builds, it's fine and you don't really care. It also the other thing too about it is that your biggest hands with Conjoined Joker end up being your first hands, which usually your hands get bigger as you go because you find not always, but a lot of times you get farther into your deck, you find more of the cards you need using some of those first hands, and then one of your last hands is your starts to be your really big hands. Conjoined Joker only helps usually the earlier hands, unless your opponent's just being slow and not, keeping up with you, which usually, it sends a phantom so they know you've got it if they don't already
Mhm.
have it themselves and they can play around it, and usually they will. So it's max times 3 molt, but a lot of times it's gonna be a lot worse than that. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Phantom?
Something else I wanted to mention that you didn't is that, especially because now it sends a phantom, your opponent will be able to play around it and, like, be able
Mhm.
to play their hands, so, like, you probably only get 2x, maybe 2.5x if you're playing really fast, but it also makes it so that it's pretty incompatible with things like Acrobat or Dusk, which are almost always a pickup.
Yeah.
Like I think Acrobat is better than Conjoined because it's the guaranteed ×3 and it's on the better hand, which is usually your last one. And like you said, usually like your last hands will be some of your strongest because you can use those hands as potentially discards to be able to find like one more steal or be able to really get that five of a kind that you couldn't find with just your discards. And maybe you can't even use your discards because you have to be playing so fast that you got to get your hands out first. And so maybe you could have had a steal, but because you needed to play fast for the conjoined value, you weren't able to find it. It's rough to use sometimes, but it's still an unconditional probably X2 usually. And so it's still a good joker. It's still worth taking. But there's definitely some drawbacks to deciding to use conjoined.
Yeah. I definitely I take it sometimes, but when
Hmm.
there's other stuff, I highly prioritize other things above it. I think a lot of the ways some things you wanna do with conjoined joker, if your opponent has it, obviously, uh, you play your hands fast. The nice thing is if your opponent has it, like times 1.5 molt isn't a very big deal. So what you
Yeah.
can maybe do is just don't use discards at the start and just
Yeah.
play,
Just
3
hands with
hands, get down to
discards.
1 hand.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then you start taking your time with discards, start figuring out exactly what you need, getting your hand just right. But usually the first hand slash discards to get to your cards are easier anyways, right? Because
Hmm.
you're not having to make complex decisions. It's like, okay, all these cards are chaff. I can just get rid of all these, and then you know you can actually take your time when you need it when you're going against
Yeah.
conjoined.
And I think especially like a strategy for when your opponent has conjoined joker or when you have it, I think it works in both ways, is before you hit that ready up on the PvP, like, timer's going down, like you'll be fine. You can have time to look. Is I look through my deck and be like, what's the hand I want to play?
Hmm.
And then if
Yeah,
anything's not that hand, then those are the throwaway stuff. So it's like, am I going to play a flush house? Am I going to play a flush five? Am I going for five of a kind? Decide what you're keeping and what you're throwing away, so that you don't have to take the time to make the decision in the PvP blind. Because now the join Joker's value a factor in that PvP blind, then you won't have time to make that decision. You'll just have to play.
yeah.
So that's a recommendation I would make.
One thing that I'm curious about is so conjoined joker originally was times 5 molt at most, and they gave times 1 for each hand your opponent had left. So it
Yeah.
was much stronger. Um, but honestly, I feel like as far as the rankings here, like it makes a difference, but conjoined still has the same like gains and limitations. I probably would rank in the same place. There's argument to be said to put it above the next one on the list, but I
Yeah,
honestly maybe would still have
I
yeah.
think at its original value, I would move it up because it's usually a ×4, and just like that's a loyalty card.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I think that's more valuable than what the next Joker is. But an average of like 2 or 2.5, I think the next one has more use cases. Anyway, anything else about a conjoined?
I I don't think so. I guess one thing to say is like conjoined, uh, the kind of hand you're playing matters quite a bit.
Hmm.
Like obviously it's gonna be, I mean, unless you're just like a genius, super fast thinker, it's gonna be really hard to play it with something like Flower Pot because you gotta like figure out exactly how you're lining things up.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that a lot of times high card builds are a lot easier to play with conjoined because you're just looking for your steel cards, right? You don't have to think quite as much. You can just discard anything that's not steel or steel red seal if you're at that point, and just move through it much faster. And you can play it much faster because you kind of just if you especially if I will say a thing about conjoined Joker, it helps if you have the better mouse and gamepad mod,
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
or handy.
because
Another one that people use.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, that's there's different ones out there, but anything that helps you select cards more quickly than just clicking them all
Yeah,
one at a time, can, speed up your play for this.
yeah. Personally, like the one I hate to play like with or against conjoined is when I have like a shoot the moon build with a bunch of steel, because then I
Yeah,
have to move the queens every time,
I've
and
had to do that before.
I just can't
It's
do it, man.
yeah,
I
yep,
can't do it
that is
fast
an
enough to get the
awful thing to
conjoined.
have to do. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
That
that's the
one I
thing.
hate. It's
Yeah.
like I gotta play my hands right now, but
Uh-huh,
I have
uh-huh.
to get the queens
Yep.
before the
That
steals.
is, yeah.
All right, I think we're good. On to the next one. The next Joker we put at number 4 is called Defensive Joker. What it does is it gives you plus 125 chips for every life less than your nemesis. So the way it works is it counts how many lives both you and your nemesis have, You default start at 4. So let's say you lost the first PvP blind, so now they have 4 and you have 3. Defensive Joker give plus 125. If you're down by 2 lives, like let's say 4-2, then it'll give plus 250. But if you have even amount of lives or you have more lives than your opponent, it will give nothing, plus 0 chips. I think both of us put this as number 4. Again, I'll speak for myself. I put it as number 4 because plus 125 chips is just really good. Like, Ice Cream is a good Joker, and it does more than that, guaranteed, and it doesn't melt. I guess the only way it would melt is if you win, and so I'm fine with losing out on the value. I was able to tie up the game now, or now I'm winning. And so, again, it is a defensive Joker, so it does help you out, where, like, sometimes that plus 125 or plus 250 chips are really impactful. They can be a ×3 or ×4 molt, like, in essence, because the chips can be a ×4 on your total scoring. And so in that case, like, it can help you just survive and win the PvP blinds. It's a very large amount of chips, and that's what I see it as the most valuable, is when you're down 1 life or 2. It's just
Yeah.
ice cream plus,
Yeah,
ice cream
I
plus plus.
agree. And another thing, like you mentioned, it's if you win and you lose the value on the defensive Joker, the other thing that makes that like just not that bad is that is the perfect time to have to be out a Joker, is because you're right at the beginning, you're right at a shop, right at the beginning of the next ante, where like you're probably wanting to replace that with
Mhm.
something better pretty soon
Yeah,
anyways. So you don't even really care that you're losing it. So it
yeah. You've
and
got a whole ante to
defensive
find
Joker
something
was
better.
there, like that was its purpose. It was there to give you time to find something better. So you've probably been building up econ and your other Jokers to where a
Mhm.
point where you're gonna want to find something better anyways.
Yeah, I think it does the job. It does what it's supposed to, and I think
Mhm.
it is very good at it, and that's why I put it number.
Yeah, I feel like we've had less to say about this Joker, but there's like not that much to say. It's just pretty solid and good for.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does the
there's
thing.
no
It's
advanced
and
techniques.
its name is
It
super
does the
descriptive.
thing.
It
Yeah.
defensive Joker. It protects you when could end up going bad. There's definitely
Hmm.
been some games where I've I would have lost if it wasn't for a defensive
Hmm.
Joker, and that saved
Yeah,
me the next ante, and then I was able to find something better and take back the
yeah,
game.
yeah. I've been down to 1 life, and that defensive Joker is like
Yeah,
plus 250, and I'm
yeah.
like, get in here, brother,
Like showman without the
save me.
-2 hand size is just it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take Chauvin with no downside. That's a
for
good
sure.
Joker right there.
Yeah, our the next Joker, the one that we have both ranked at number 3, is called Penny Pincher. Penny Pincher does is at the end of the round, earn $1 for every $3 your nemesis spent last shop. So basically, for whatever your opponent spends, and I want to ask you, Phantom, because people have been talking about. I don't totally understand how it determines what the last shop is. I've heard people talk about like waiting for to get Penny Pincher bigger or something, but basically, in the last shop, whatever your opponent spent, you get a third of that money, which can be huge in in multiplayer, especially at a high level. You're trying to build up as much econ as you can so that you can do a bunch of rerolls and find what you need. And it counts those rerolls. At least I'm assuming it does. There's no way I'd get as much money as I do if it didn't. It counts those rerolls. So a lot of times,
Yeah, rerolls are
um,
expensive shop.
but yeah, it's crazy. Like I've had like I played a game last night where I was getting multiple rounds in a row, like $20+ off Penny Pincher a round, which is just like, especially if there's other econ jokers in the mix, that start, when there's other econ jokers in the mix, your opponent's probably playing with them too, and you probably both got big econ, and then the penny pinchers will just build off of themselves too, because you get like a third of your own money back, like a third of your own money that you spent back again, or like a ninth of it. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Yeah, so I can explain to you how it works, um, and then I'll explain my thoughts about it. The way it works is basically like, let's consider it from your perspective. So like, you go into a shop, you spend all your money, you do your rerolls. When you hit that select blind button, I think, like, once you leave the shop, whatever the go next button is, it sends a message to your opponent saying, hey, here's how much I spent last shop. And then whenever you finish a round, Penny Pincher looks and see, hey, what's the most recent message I got for how much they spent in the shop? Divide that by 3, that's how much money you get. So like, technically, like, if I'm still in the shop before the small blind and you've made it all the way to PvP, then I'll just get whatever it is you spent right before PvP, and I would get that 3 times. because that was the last thing that the game has gotten. I wouldn't get like, oh, what do you spend in the small blind? I wouldn't get what do you spend in the big blind? I would only get the very last one.
Interesting.
Did I explain that well, or does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, that makes sense. So that gives an interesting thing that I hadn't really thought much about before, that you probably, if penny pincher's in the mix, you wanna, I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, you don't wanna prioritize it too much, but you want to, if possible, if your opponent's playing slower than you, spend less in that last shop than you do in the other 2 shops, or at least not more,
Hmm.
so that they're not, like, getting a bunch of extra value.
Yeah, no, that could technically be a strategy if like you see your opponent still somehow in the small blind, then and you're in the last shop, then you're like, all right, well, I'll deny them like 2 or 3 penny pinchers and spend very little in this last
Mm,
shop,
yeah,
and that would work.
interesting.
Something to note is that it recently got like it technically got nerfed. I think it was a bug fix where penny pincher was changed to an end of round economy joker instead of a start of shop economy joker, which spoiler alert doesn't exist in the main game. So I don't know why it was even a thing. So it's now an end of round joker. It means it's not blueprintable anymore. I think that's a good change for it. It was already very strong. It didn't need to be blueprintable, and it kind of didn't make sense as
Yeah.
a because it basically worked as an end of round joker. I don't know why it was blueprintable in the first place. So now it's not, and I think it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's a very strong joker. I think the times when I don't necessarily love it is when it's my only econ joker, or when I see someone else playing it's their only econ
Mm,
joker, because it means you're always behind. Because
mm,
the only money you're getting is like from interest and a third of whatever your opponent spent. So that means they're spending 3 times as much as you every single shot. And if that's the case, you're losing. But when it's like a mail-in rebate and penny pincher, I'm loving life because they mail-in like the penny pinchers give me $20 a round, mail-ins give me $20 a round. I'm spending a bunch of money. I get interest. We're having a good time. So as long as you have penny pincher and something else, I'm feeling good about it.
yeah. That's true, but also I think, like, I would still keep it later, because a lot of times later on, you've got cards in your deck. You got gold cards, gold seals, lucky cards that are uh, that are
Hmm.
giving you econ on their own, and so it sometimes will end up
Yeah.
being the last econ joker I keep, because a lot of times, the opponent's in the same way, and they might not even have any econ jokers. So, like, even though, I'm getting a lot from them, I'm still getting more money overall because I'm getting money from, cards and stuff, or just saved up money or whatever, and it still ends up being good that way.
Yeah. No, and I wouldn't say that like penny pincher is never like the last one that you should sell. Like I think there's times even self where it's like it's the last one, and so that's when I said like I don't love it when it's that case, but like if I have other ways of making money, like hopefully another econ joker. If I don't have room for that, then I have gold cards or lucky cards or some other way of making money besides just penny pincher. Then I'm feeling good,
Yeah. And
and so it
I
sounds like
wanna
you
say,
feel the same way.
yeah, 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 for sure. I wanna say one thing, like, a kind of side benefit I feel like of penny pincher is it's kind of useful knowing generally how much money your opponent is spending. Because,
Hmm.
if they're not spending much, you're not getting much off penny pincher, you know that they're kinda settled in. And if you're getting tons of money for penny pincher, they're digging deep, which, can inform your strategy. Like, if they're digging deep, that can be kinda scary because 'cause they're looking for something big, but it could also mean that, like, they're, filled up with econ jokers. So hopefully you might be able to play a little bit safer, or I don't know. It depends a lot on the game, and it's hard to really say exactly how to use that information. But uh, depending on the game state, that can tell you, be like, okay, I should maybe, like, what I've got is good. They're desperate. They don't have something else. Or if you don't think that you're settled in, you could be like, okay, I need to start boosting up my econ because I'm falling behind. I need to find what they're finding. So
Hmm. Yeah, no, any amount of information is good, especially in a multiplayer game. Yeah, and that can also inform like when and or if you want to sell it. Like if
mm,
my opponent is super poor and I'm getting like $3 around for penny pincher, I'm like,
yeah,
I don't need this. This is useless. Get out of here. Give me something
yeah,
better.
for sure, for sure. But yeah, I
All right.
think
Anything else
that's
about penny pincher?
nah, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Let's go to our number two Joker. This one's called Let's Go Gambling. Okay, so on each hand played, there's a 1 in 4 chance for times 4 mult and $10, and a 1 in 8 chance to give your nemesis $5. So this one, every time you play a hand, it gets that 1 in 4 chance for that times 4 mult and $10. And that's the main reason you use it. Like the 1 in 8 chance to give your nemesis $5. I don't really care about it. Like, if it gives it to them, whatever. When it happens to you, it's whatever. It's nice. Especially because it is such a good Joker. Most of the time, both players take it. So like, they'll give you $5, you give them $5. It's whatever. The main thing is that because by default you have 4 hands, it is a 1 in 4 chance to give that $10. Then on average per round, it's a plus $10 Joker. I guess you lose like $3 because of the extra hands you played that you might not have before. Sometimes you would have anyway. But in general, it's around a $10 bonus every round. And if it's something like Oops All Sixes, it can be on average $20 a round, which is even better. So just the fact that it does scoring and econ makes it a really good Joker. And because the amount of money you get from it is really good, like I think Golden Joker is a good Joker. It's worth taking. This does twice as much on the money department on average, and also has a chance to give you scoring that can win you a PvP blind. So that's why I put it as number 2.
Yeah, it's a really good Joker. It's really I feel like it's really fun and satisfying to use too. I mean, it can be
Mhm.
frustrating if it doesn't hit for a while, but I
Yeah.
think the
Or if your
the
opponent
positive
hits
is
it and on like the perfect hand and you don't, like that hurts.
yeah, yeah. No, it definitely has its rough moments, but yeah, it's super solid. Yeah, it's just good great money. Having both econ and scoring on the same Joker is just so huge. That's why Mime is one of the best Jokers in the game because it can,
Mhm.
give you score with your steel cards, but it can also give you money with your gold cards and plans and all that.
Mhm.
But yeah, Let's Go Gambling, having those 2 together, even though it's like a chance thing, it's really big. And the other thing too is the 1 in 4 chance for times 4. If you're playing like, obviously, it's just kind of random. I mean, obviously, it is random, um,
Yeah.
but if you're playing a kind of, hand like high card or whatever, where you're playing a lot of hands that are gonna give you about the same score. I mean, it depends on high card. Sometimes you have to, like, play more to get to more of your steel cards, but if you can get your steel cards with your discards and you're playing all your hands that are giving about the same score, then that's, like you're probably gonna hit with one of those hands, which makes it, like,
Mhm.
approximately a times 2 on average in a PvP blind.
Yeah. Or it's similar to like a loyalty card where like you'll get the one big hit of an X4. And loyalty
Yeah.
card's a great Joker in multiplayer. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, all around good Joker. I would say some of the you have to play around it interestingly. I think some people don't, milk it for as much as they can.
Mhm.
And it's one that you definitely wanna try to get as much value out of it as possible.
Yeah.
Usually you gotta be careful. I've definitely lost multiple lives to trying to get Let's Go Gambling value.
Yeah, and
Because
I'm sure there's also times where you've accidentally won early when you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
my throwaway pair got the X4 now it won," you know?
yeah, yeah. So it's like it's this weird thing where you've gotta be like the ideal situation is you have all of your hands except for your last one, where they won't even win if they get times 4, but your last
Yep.
one wins even without the times 4, which is sometimes hard to
Yes.
do, but if
Yeah.
you can set
That's
that up.
ideal. Yeah, because on average, mathematically, each hand played will get you $2.5 if you don't have any oops or anything like that. And so you spend $1, you get 2.5. That's plus $1.5. Like just playing
Mhm.
any hand is mathematically doing.
Yep.
Something else that's funny is that the misfire chance, where it's the 1 in 8 to send money to your opponent, can mess up Vagabond, which is hilarious. That's all.
That's
I've seen
pretty
it
great.
happen to Vagabond.
Oh my gosh.
Like he was playing Vagabonds, and then like I think it was in a PvP as well, where like they were in a PvP, and he's like, "All right, I just need the Sun card. Then we get this flush 5," and then it's like, "Bing!" Like Let's Go Gambling wiggles. He gets plus like now he's at $5. He's like, "No!"
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, I've never seen that happen. That is pretty funny.
It's hilarious. Like it's funny.
Oh man.
Good stuff. Yeah, I
And
think
yeah,
that's all
with
I had to say about
Oops
it. It's just a good Joker.
yeah, it is. And with Oops, it feels so good to have the 2 and 4
Mm-hmm.
chance. It just becomes even better.
50-50 for $10 or 50-50 for the X4. Like both of those are so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge.
Can't say I've had it with double loops, but I assume it would be great.
Yeah, I just get oh my gosh, guaranteed times 4 and $10 every hand. Sounds
Yeah.
wild.
I don't know if that's worth 3 Joker slots, but that sounds cool.
Yeah, maybe not, but especially like I think it would be like worth the 3 Joker slots temporarily, but it's not worth onking an Oops.
Yeah, it's not worth Onk or your Invisible Joker. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's why sometimes I wish that Oops was blueprintable because
Yeah,
I
blueprint
would just love
compatible.
to.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that's about it for Let's Go Gambling.
Yep, that's all I had.
All right, so now we're going to get to our final Joker that we both rank as the most powerful. It is Magnet. Magnet says after 2 rounds, sell this card to copy your nemesis's highest sell cost Joker. Um, this Joker is no, I wouldn't say that it's as good as an Invisible Joker, but it performs a somewhat similar function where it, in theory, way less reliable, but in theory, gets the highest value Joker from your, or well, it does get the highest sell value Joker, but highest sell. That's the issue. Is why it's not reliable. Is that highest sell value is not always best Joker, but it gets the high sell value Joker from your opponent when you sell it after 2 rounds, just like Invisible. And a lot of times, like if there is a blueprint or a brainstorm in the game, there's a good like 50% of the time, at least, you'll be getting that blueprint or brainstorm. There's obviously a lot of ways that can mess that up. Negative jokers mess it up.
Mhm.
Um, a gift card, egg, uh, those can all
Wheel
screw
of
it up.
Fortune can mess with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They got Wheel of Fortune that put a polychrome on a decently high joker. Yeah, yeah. Plenty of things that can make it go wrong. Um, but just like honestly, there's Let's Go Gambling. I feel like ends up being it's more often a good Joker, but the upside of Magnet is just so insanely high because the extra blueprint or brainstorm, or
Mhm.
some of the other ones, some other rare Jokers, like if you get the Baron or another Idol or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
extra ancient Joker.
yeah, Ancient Joker. That's what I was thinking when I said Idol. But also Idol if that happens to, but it's
Yeah.
uncommon, so less often.
Mhm.
But yeah,
It also hits every legendary, so like an extra tribule.
yeah,
Like, it's so good because it can be game winning. Like, if I get an extra
hmm
blueprint and you don't, or I get an extra tribute and you don't, I win. Like that, I win the game because of that.
yeah,
And so that's
yeah.
why it has to be number one. Even though Let's Go Gambling, like it's just a solid Joker. It's almost always good to take unless you have like stacked Joker slots because it's money and scoring.
hmm
But Magnet can win you the game, so it's the best of the multiplayer Jokers.
Yeah, there's no way around it. And compared to Invisible Joker, obviously Invisible Joker is more reliable, but
Mhm.
Magnet has the advantage that you don't have to sell out of things to use it. So it's a toss up, but I mean, I guess to be fair, with Invisible you can get the same thing too. So I guess that's kind of a non-argument. I feel like Invisible Joker. I would rather have an Invisible Joker than a Magnet almost all the time.
Yeah,
But it's still
yeah.
very
I,
very
I
strong.
I think especially now that Magnet sends a Phantom,
Oh yeah.
I think Invisible Joker is a lot better because now it like gives your opponent that like two antes to like I'm gonna find an egg. I'm gonna like
Mhm.
reroll random negative. I'm gonna take the negative astronomer now. I'm taking that,
Yeah.
so then the egg hits that or throwing every wheel like whatever it is. It gives them a chance to outplay the magnet, whereas before it was just kind of felt more random, I guess. I will something that I personally don't like about it is that the way it breaks ties is randomly. So like let's say you have an ancient joker and a vagabond, which both sell for $4. When you sell magnet and my two highest sell jokers are tied, it'll choose randomly. And so there's a
Yeah.
world where like we both get a magnet at the same time, we both have, an ancient joker and a vagabond. You get two vagabonds, I get two ancients, that's it, I win. And it's pure luck. And it just feels bad to lose like that, I guess.
Yeah. That makes sense. How do you think it should be instead?
Before the way it broke ties is it chose the leftmost joker when it was tied. And so as
Do you
long
think that's
as
better?
like people know that, it's at least like especially now that it sends a phantom, like I get to choose which one you take. And
Yeah.
theoretically you could do the same thing. And so at
Yeah.
least we both get the same thing. Like if we both have vagabond, we both have ancient. I'm putting my vagabond on the left and you're getting vagabond and then you'll do the so at
Yeah.
least it doesn't
Yeah.
come down to pure luck that one person gets a vagabond, the other one gets ancient, and then that's it from there.
Yeah. That makes sense. I agree. I hadn't thought of it. Like I liked the random things. I'm like, oh, that seems better. But now that you put it out, as long as it's like made clear. I mean, it's already got a
Yeah.
lot of text on the Joker, but as long as it was made clear, and now that there's a Phantom, I think that would be better.
Yeah. No, that's personally how I would propose to change it or just remove it from the game.
Speaking of that, I know you had mentioned that just in general that we've kind of gone through the whole list. You said you think that there's some jokers or a lot of these jokers that don't even belong. Like you don't not even don't even belong, but like you don't think that they fit Balatro.
I think like I'm part of like the team that helps to like balance the mod and make changes to the mod. Like the conjoin change, I personally like was the one who coded that up. Like Phantom's
Mm.
preview is a mod that I made. There's a change to idle that I made. Like I helped to make with the mod, and I'm part of the team that decides like, hey, what's best. I'm not sure we should be trying to be game designers as well as mod developers. It's really hard. Like Magnet, it's one of the hardest jokers we've ever found to like it's a super cool concept. It's like an invisible joker, but like for what your opponent has. So like you take whatever they has, that's cool. Like it's cool in concept. But there's always worlds where like, oh, your opponent rerolled like a little less and now they didn't find the ancient in time. And so now your magnet gets nothing. But when they magnet, they get a second ancient and they win because they played worse. That feels bad. So now we make it send a phantom because it allows you to outplay your opponent and like know at least like once they find a magnet, they've at least seen the ancient that I saw before magnet. So now I'll at least get that. But then it allows them to like build up an egg before that. So now it's like doesn't even fix the problem it was trying to solve. Like it's just really hard to balance these kind of things. I think in general, anything that like affects your opponent or your opponent's actions affect what the Joker does, I'm not sure they like should be in the game. Like magnet, I don't know, maybe speedrun, skip off, conjoined at least, like penny pincher even. These kind of jokers, like they can cause weird scenarios where like you talked about maybe the asteroid or penny pincher where it's like I'm incentivized to sit there in the small blind and wait for see what they do. Like that kind of gameplay is just weird and not really like Balatro. Like
Yeah.
I feel like in the Balatro multiplayer, it's like who's playing Balatro better, and then once we pop it in the PvP blind, we see who has the higher score. Like that's
Yeah.
what it's kind of always been about to me. And these kind of additional jokers or like asteroids, like there was a game that Zeno played where we don't know exactly what the opponent had, like if they had certain flush 5 levels, but they used like 3 asteroids on his flush 5 and it got it on like level 2 while he was sitting there waiting for PvP. And he's like, well, I guess it would have been optimal for me to sit in the small blind and wait for them to make it all the PvP. So if they did find enough asteroids, then it would have knocked my other stuff down to level 0. And then once I went more Eris cards to buff it back up. And like things like that shouldn't be in the game. Like the option to like, oh, it's optimal just to sit there in small blind. What if both opponents realize that? Then we sit there in small blind. And that's super
Yeah.
dumb. And so
Yeah.
like I in my opinion, defensive Joker is like the pinnacle of like if we are designing Jokers for multiplayer, this is what we should strive to find. Because like how does your opponent play around it? Like lose a life? Like they're not gonna do that. So it's just here's another option for you because your opponent did that. That's really cool. Now I still have the option to like take it or not, and then once it becomes not as good, I can sell it off. Or like pacifist, like it just is a Joker that messes with like the PvP and non-PvP mechanics, but it's more about like the individual player and what they decide to do than like trying to outplay your opponent in some weird meta kind of way. It's just here's another option when you're playing Balatro. You should be playing Balatro, and whoever plays Balatro better wins your opponent. You should be playing your opponent, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I I partially agree. I think that I don't know. I think that that is whether it's hard to say whether I wouldn't want these jokers to not be in the game because of that though. Because like all that is completely true and it kind of screws with the game. I completely agree. But the other thing is they're also just kind of fun. Like some of them maybe not so much, but I feel like
Mhm.
having more things that interact with your opponent is fun. And like I agree, if we could have them all be, in the line of defensive Joker where they don't create those weird scenarios, like that would be ideal, but I feel like
Mhm.
it's hard to come up with Joker concepts because it's not, it's not built for multiplayer. So it's hard to
Yeah.
come up with ones that I mean, I don't know. I maybe people have come up with ones, but I look through the Joker suggestions. I don't see a lot of good ones. No offense to people making keep making Joker suggestions. If you make them in the Discord, but it's like it's hard. Like it's making ones
Yeah.
like
Like I
you
said,
might think
like
that you got a cool idea, and
being a
then
game
it's like
designer is hard, especially when it's like
yeah,
multiplayer.
yeah, yeah, and especially when it's multiplayer and a system that you can't control. Like the system's
Mhm.
already in place, and you have to force it into multiplayer when it wasn't built for that to begin with. Is
Yeah.
just yeah.
Yeah. And personally, like you said, like some of these jokers are fun. And I think that's something that should be in the game, but maybe not by default these should be in the game for the ranked PvP. Like have it as an option in the lobby settings, but maybe not on default. Like for example, the you can right now you can turn on a setting to have the boss blinds. So like now the plant can show up in your PvP battle, and that's hilarious. But that's not for
That's
default
funny.
ranked, and maybe some of these jokers shouldn't be there for default ranked, or even maybe none of them. I'm not sure.
Mm,
Yeah. So like we've already done the work to make it. The art's already been made. I'm fine with not like deleting them, but maybe some of them aren't necessarily the best for like ranked gameplay.
yeah, that's fair. And I think another thing that might be an argument for not having them in ranked gameplay is I've I've noticed that a lot of the bigger streamers when they play, just against other big streamers
Hmm.
doing the multiplayer mod, is they
Hmm.
play the vanilla. They play without these. And I feel like that probably a part of that is because it's probably a lot more approachable to the general public. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, Balatro multiplayer," and then, like, to those of us who have already been playing them on stuff, like, we might think these are fun and cool, but we also want more people to join and to, like, have a bigger community,
Hmm.
and we can do more things, where having these jokers that, like, you know, throw a whole other loop into the thing might make it seem less approachable.
Yeah. No, I remember I was watching a stream of Dr. Spectre and someone was like, "Hey, are you gonna play like multiplayer ranked?" He's like, "It's like I would like to like warm up for like Major League Balatro." He's like, "I would, but it's not the same game.
Mm,
Like it wasn't worth it to him to play ranked because it wouldn't even be practice for Balatro multiplayer, like for the MLB."
yeah. And that one, the hard thing is I feel like that one's a little bit because of the Jokers, but that's probably more because of the glass and hanging Chad nerfs,
Hmm.
which that one's harder because that one the multiplayer environment is so much healthier without that in it. Like, but
Yeah.
there's still the argument for it being more inviting to newer players, but it's hard to from a competitive gameplay standpoint. It's hard to and just a gameplay variety standpoint more so hard to imagine unnerfing taking out those nerfs for the main competitive mode.
Yeah, no, and Zeno personally has been like fighting for. He's like, I want like the default rule set to be like uh the changes to Chad and Glass, but then none of the multiplayer stuff.
Hmm.
And he's like, that would be like a pretty fair experience. Like even with the Major League Balatro, like maybe they don't have the multiplayer experience, but like you can see every game goes to who has the most glass, who can retrigger it,
Yeah,
because that is the meta once Justice is still in the game. So once you remove Justice, fix hanging Chad, and maybe nerf the glass to 1.5. Then like now we're playing Balatro, but it's multiplayer, and at the very least, not everything's coming down to just glass.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think I'd be
Because
fine with that, but you know, some people really love these jokers, and so it might not be an easy sell.
yeah, yeah. I it's honestly I can't say if if it was all down to me for some weird reason. I honestly don't know
Mhm.
which I would choose because I can see arguments on both sides for sure.
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right. Well,
well,
that's
um,
all I have.
yeah, that's cool. Thanks for that. This is a good, interesting discussion there. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Whoever is watching and or listening here, would love to get some comments about. Let us know what you think about like if you would rank any of the Jokers differently than how we ranked them, or if you agree or disagree with the idea of um the hypothetical idea of removing the most or all of the multiplayer jokers from the base experience, not removing from the mod, but putting it into, having the modded jokers be the side game mode instead of vanilla being the side game mode. Um, yeah, or just let us know also just any suggestions you've got, anything. This is first time doing this, my first time even like recording a podcast at all. And so, there might be some stuff. Just let us know any ways you think things could be improved. Anything
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
If you're
Or if you
watching
have
on
any
YouTube,
ideas for, like
yeah,
if you have any
yeah,
ideas for,
ideas.
like, future topics, you're like, "Hey, I'd love that you talk about this," then, we'll for sure read those comments and choose from among those maybe some ideas that we've had for what we'll talk about in the next episode.
Yeah, for sure. Because like we have ideas, but for one, we wanna give you what you want to hear about, and also like your ideas might just be better than what we had. So yeah, would definitely
Yeah.
love to hear ideas. Um, Yeah, I think that's about all. If you're on YouTube, you can just comment there. I don't know what else I will be releasing this on. It might only be on YouTube for the first one. I might wait to figure out other things later. If it is on other ones, if you can't comment there, just like come at us in the well, maybe not at us. Maybe don't fill the thing with the things that. But feel free to reach out to us on the Balatro multiplayer Discord, or reach out to me at least. I don't know, Fanta, if you want people reaching out to you or not on Discord about this, but
Either way, reach out to Sizak, he's the main host, I'm the co-host, so
oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, reach out to me. Um, reach out to me on Discord if you aren't on YouTube, or you can also just go to YouTube and comment there. That might be the easiest solution because it's
yeah.
not exactly hard to find YouTube. But however you want to do it, would love to hear comments, suggestions, anything. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you all again soon.